Chapter 1. Transmigration in the Modern World. 1-star talent, F-grade fire control. Pass. 3-star talent, E-grade air control. Pass. 1-star talent, lack of superpower. Fail. The loud announcement of the examiner rang out in the school field. Like an executioner, the declaration of the school examiner judged the future of the students. Those who passed the test managed to graduate as transcendents. Those who failed it were as good as dead. In a modern world where dimensional gates descended and monsters of various strengths and sizes waged war against the human race, those who awakened supernatural powers and transcended the human limit were hailed as transcendent. Transcendents fought against the invaders from other worlds to maintain the peace of the world and the survival of the human race. They were the beacon of hope for humanity's survival and victory against the foreign invaders. Due to that, the privilege and status of transcendents were naturally higher than an average human. Those who couldn't awaken their supernatural powers were left with no choice but to become fodders at the bottom of the hierarchy. There was no right and wrong in this world, only power reigned supremacy. Those who failed the test and couldn't awaken their supernatural power were forced to drop out of school and start applying for laborious work just to earn enough money to live. Even non-transcendents weren't treated as humans but just mere corporate slaves. In other words, those who failed their examination for high school graduation and couldn't become transcendents were no different from experiencing death. After all, the dead don't have human rights. In the front of the lines of students queuing for the supernatural examination, a conspicuous young man was attracting the gazes of his classmates and schoolmates. The young man didn't come from a rich background and his family didn't have any transcendence. But his exaggeratedly handsome appearance was just too dazzling. With neck-length flowing and silky ebony black hair and piercing crimson-red eyes, the young man whose name was Alistair Wright remained indifferent. It was as if he didn't care about the supernatural examination, which sounded absurd since the results of the supernatural examination would decide the life and future of a high school student. The source of this content note VL/N. But Alistair Wright wasn't an average high school student. No, he was a transmigrator. At the age of 12, Alistair had transmigrated into this world. He found out that although the world was modern and didn't have that much high-edge technology, it was filled with danger due to foreign invaders from another world. And in this world, there were two phases of supernatural awakening. The first phase was at the age of 12 and the second phase was at the age of 18. Those who couldn't awaken their supernatural power in the first phase could still hope to awaken it in the second phase. Although Alistair didn't awaken his supernatural power in the first phase, he didn't have much hope of awakening his supernatural power in the second phase. After all, when he had transmigrated into this world, which was during the supernatural examination for the first phase, he had failed the test. But the time he failed the test, he might not have awakened a supernatural power, but he had discovered the presence of his golden finger, the world travel simulator. Although his world travel simulator system was already integrated into his soul after he had failed his first phase supernatural examination, his system had informed him that the system wasn't fully online yet. It still needed to accumulate enough energy and familiarize itself with this multiverse. Those would take at least 6 years of time, which was exactly within his second phase of the supernatural examination. Alistair was already informed by his system that the world travel system would be online after he had failed the second phase supernatural examination. Alistair had transmigrated into the body of someone with the same name and appearance as his past life identity. And from what the system had told him, it was impossible for him to awaken the supernatural power of this world since the system had prevented it from happening. The world travel simulator system had already cleared his body of supernatural attributes of this world to prevent any complications during the time that the system was charging its power. Alistair didn't mind since compared to the supernatural power of this world, he preferred the world travel simulator system since it was his unique advantage against the natives of this world. 8th star talent, SSS grade lightning control. Pass. When the examiner announced those results, the crowd of students who were lining up exclaimed in surprise and reverence. Fuck, as expected of the Prince Charming of our school. Compared to that good-for-nothing pretty boy Alistair, Hugh deserves to be our #1 talent and Prince Charming. I was right to lick the boots of Lord Hugh. Lord Hugh has a great future and he can become at least an 8th level transcendent. Becoming the servant of an 8th level transcendent is a blessing. Amidst the loud exclamations of the students, the examiner, principal, and teachers nodded in respect and recognition towards the handsome blonde teenager on the examination platform. Such a talented seedling would bring honor to their school, so it was no wonder that the principal and teachers had high hopes for Hugh Carlson. On the other hand, after Hugh Carlson basked in the applause and flattery of the crowd, he immediately glanced at Alistair with his head high. His eyes were mocking and taunting Alistair. Alistair didn't care about it since he knew that Hugh Carlson was only a transcendent, but he, a transmigrator, was a system user. While Alistair ignored and disregarded Hugh Carlson, which attracted Hugh's anger, Alistair heard the voice of his examiner. Alistair, right, come up the platform and start your test. The system will choose another random world. The neutral robotic sound of the system spoke inside Alistair's mind, and it was accompanied by the system screen explanations of the World Travel Simulator system. Seeing that he was currently inside his room with nothing to do, Alistair agreed to start the simulation. Yes, start the simulation. Ding. Choosing a world. Ding. The chosen world is a zombie world. It is up to the host to uncover the secrets of that world. And the more accomplishments that the host has achieved in the simulation, the higher the simulation grade. Before the start of a simulation, the host can choose 3 talents from 5 random talents. From lowest to highest, the talent grades are white, green, blue, purple, gold, and red. Ding. The host can choose 3 of these talents. 3 First simulation in zombie world. Ding. The host can choose 3 of these talents. Athlete white, runner white, joke master white, cosplayer white, sword noob white. Athlete white, you have the average physique of an athlete. Runner white, you have joined your school's track field club before. Your running speed is higher than the average person. Joke master white, you are a master when it comes to jokes. You might as well become a comedian. Cosplayer white, you are very good at cosplaying. You have the skill set to cosplay at least 90% of the target, regardless of whether they are fictional or not. Sword noob white, you watched many animes and copied their sword skills. Although your sword skills aren't practical, they at least looked flashy and badass. Seeing the talents displayed in front of him, Alistair couldn't help but clack his tongue with dissatisfaction. Is my luck this bad? How can I draw only white talents? Although Alistair complained, his body was still honest, and chose 3 talents. For him, it was at least better than nothing. Alistair knew that aside from Joke Master White and Cosplayer White, the rest of the talents were at least useful in his survival in the zombie world. Although the Sword Noob White talent looked quite stupid and impractical, at least his sword skills looked flashy, right? Maybe the zombies might be dazzled by sword skills. That still sounded more practical than telling jokes to zombies. He would become a joke if he was bitten by zombies when he was joking. Ding. The host has chosen the following talents. Athlete White, Runner White, Sword Noob White. Ding. Starting the simulation in Zombie World. Ding. You woke up due to a loud noise of crashing and screaming outside your school dormitory. You found out from a mirror inside your room that your appearance is still the same, but undoubtedly, you have traveled to another world. Having knowledge of this world beforehand, you know that this is a zombie world. So the loud noise could only mean that the zombie apocalypse has started. You surveyed your surroundings and found out that although there were 4 beds in your shared room, your roommates had all gone outside. After your successful transmigration into this world, you have already received the memories and knowledge of this body. You found out that you are currently in dormitory number 169 and it's currently located on the 5th floor. All 3 of your roommates had invited you to stay in a brothel yesterday, but you had refused, leaving you all alone in dormitory 169. You didn't mind since this only gave you the advantage of 844. Having this room all to yourself. Not to mention, there is a possibility that your roommates would become a threat to you if they had stayed in dormitory 169. After all, if they stayed in this room with you while they became zombies, you weren't confident you could deal with 3 zombies in a closed space. You start to scavenge the entire room for food and find out that you have 2 bottles of mineral water, a pack of potato chips, and 2 packs of biscuits. You open the tap water and you find out that it is still running. You still didn't know the cause of the zombie outbreak, so you dare not drink it, for fear of the tap water being already contaminated by the zombie virus. You are currently defenseless with no weapons to fight against zombies. You rummaged through the entire dormitory room and found only a kitchen knife. Although the kitchen knife wasn't a sword, it still resonated with your Sword Noob White talent. After all, a kitchen knife still looks like a miniature version of a sword. Although you have already armed yourself with a sharp weapon, you didn't go out yet to face the zombies. You went to take clothes from the wardrobe and wrap them around the lower part of your arms. You have watched zombie movies before and you knew that this could be used as a buffer to block a frontal zombie bite. NEEW stories at no.vel by N.com. After reading the simulations, Alistair nodded in satisfaction. Such cautious personality, it deserves to be me. Alistair found out that he could pause the simulations and continue it using his will. So after pausing the simulation for a while to admire the actions of the self in the simulation, he continued the simulation. Even after equipping a full defense and weaponry, you didn't go out yet. You decided to acquire as much information as possible that you can find while you are inside your room. Seeing that there is one window inside the dormitory, you proceed to open it and survey the surroundings of your school. You found out that the world outside was as if hell had descended on Earth. Chaos ensued as zombies mindlessly chased the humans outside. And when those zombies grabbed and subdued a human, they would bite the flesh of that human. You noticed that after a zombie finished biting a human, even if the human hasn't fully changed into a zombie yet, the zombies would leave that infected human as if they already considered that infected human as one of theirs. Aside from that, the zombies didn't seem to have vision. They mostly relied on the sounds to hunt their prey. You found out about that after a group of students used that to their advantage to attract the attention of the zombies and distract them by creating loud noises. Those groups of students were your schoolmates and could be called your acquaintance, but you didn't care. Let alone save them from the hordes of zombies. You aren't even confident that you can escape from your dormitory. Before your schoolmates could notice your presence, you decisively closed your window and shut the curtains. You have already obtained enough information. You checked your room and discovered that the electricity was out, so communication through the internet was impossible since you don't have a cellular data network. There was also a possibility that the data tower was destroyed by the zombies, so you didn't care much about that. Seeing that you don't have a reason to stay here any longer, you packed up the food and mineral water in your backpack. Slowly opening the door, you peeked out of the small opening and discovered that